What's going on, guys? Tropical Fish Guy here. Today we are going to talk about filters for small aquariums. Okay, so small aquariums like this one here, I'll show it to you close up. Filters in general, but especially for small aquariums, require small filters, obviously, right? So what I've got here in this one is a small Azu filter. This one is spec'd out for 3.5 gallons, and this is a 5-gallon tank. Let me see here. But I thought that this would be a suitable filter for this, since I have plenty of plants in here to act as a natural filter. Okay, and I'm probably right, but I will go ahead. I'm looking at these tanks here, which have bigger hang-on back filters as well as the sponge filter itself. Both of these tanks have that. They have the hang-on back filter as well as the sponge filter, but they're bigger tanks, right? So on this one I said, well, I'll just put this hang-on back filter here. There's a really small one, load it up with plants and air stone. I put an air stone in every tank. Yes, controversy. Some people swear against it. Some people swear by it. I'm in the camp that swears by it just because of the benefits that it uses for gas exchange at the top of the water. Very important for the fish. So I'm going to test that water. Let's see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you how. Well, first of all, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what type of filter this is and why I chose it. Okay, so this is a sponge filter. The benefit of the sponge filter is that it has no moving parts, so you can use this forever. This won't ever, you'll have to clean off the sponges, but that's about it. There's nothing to replace. There's no cartridges to change. There's no really, other than cleaning out, squeezing out the filters and cleaning them off every so often. There's no really other type of maintenance you have to do. You don't have to open up a canister filter or open up these hang-on back filters and change cartridges or anything like that. So very low maintenance, very beneficial. They have two big foam filters here. You've also got other type of foam filters where there's one big chunky foam filter. I didn't want that in a small aquarium. That's one of the things that one of the reasons why I chose this sponge filter. It hooks together and just snaps on and it sucks on the back of the aquarium or wherever you want to put it. I put it on the back and kind of hide it behind some plants, right? So I'm going to do that here. Since I already have an air stone going, I'm going to use that current air line and attach it to this. But that is the benefit, and it pumps out, unlike the hang-on back filter, which doesn't pump out the air. It actually pumps out the air through the top, which provides the same beneficial gas exchange as the air stone does. So it acts like an air stone and a filter all at once. So first of all, before I do that, I just out of curiosity, I haven't tested this water in a while. It looks a little bit more dirty, and I've been doing water changes on this more often than these other tanks because I feel like that this little bitty hang-on back filter isn't doing its job. But to make sure that my theory is true, I have to test the water and find out. So I'll do that before I install this sponge filter here, but I'll show you how to install the sponge filter. Another benefit of this filter is that it's cheap, right? It's a lot cheaper than the hang-on back filters. I think I paid maybe I don't know, $5 or $10 or something like that for this filter, and it's a great biological filter as well as mechanical filtration. It sucks up all the pieces and stuff like that of food, poop, uneaten particles, plant matter, and all you have to do is just squeeze out these foams like I said earlier. So a big benefit of this type of filter, it's very, very effective and really cheap. So all it is foam and some plastic, right? So it's got to be cheap. So no moving parts, low maintenance, nothing wrong with this filter. This filter is rated for a 10-gallon, I believe. I think on Amazon it was a 10-gallon filter, but we'll, and I could just put this by itself into this 5-gallon tank, but I already have beneficial bacteria building up in this filter, so I don't want to remove that filter and add this because I would be removing a large chunk of the beneficial bacteria. So for the moment, my plan is to use both, and maybe one day, probably not, but maybe one day take that filter off. But as long as I can hide the lift tube, I can hide that tube behind some plants. I'm gonna move it over, hide it behind some plants so it doesn't get noticed. I think I'll be all right, but we'll see. And I've done a video on how to test your water, and I'll put a link up here and in the description below if you want to know how to test your water. Alright, so the water tests out fine. I'm going to go ahead and install that filter for you. Unbox it and install it. To show you the water test fine, how about that, huh? So the freshwater test kit, I'll put a link in the description below. Things that we're testing today is ammonia. You want 0, so it should be yellow. That is this one. It is yellow. That's good. No side of green, right? It's a white background. It is yellow. Yellow, yellow. Is it pure yellow? Maybe? What do you think? Let's see here. Put it next to that white. Pure yellow. Right there. That's good. Alright. Next thing is nitrite. And this isn't a video on testing water, but testing water is important. So the blue. There's blue. That's good. And then the pH, quickly, is blue 10.6. So that's good, good water quality. And of course you say, well, how do you know it's not higher than blue? You could use the high range pH test kit, but that's okay. I've done it before. That's just fine. Alright, so the water test is complete. I'm going to show you how I am going to install this sponge filter, okay? So what I plan to do is I'm going to slide this power filter, slide this hang-on back filter over a little bit behind those plants, and I'm going to put this right there where that air stone is, and then maybe stick a plant in front of it later on, and we'll see. So let me move this over. I'm going to chunk this, I think. This one hasn't been doing so well, so I'm going to chunk this pothos out, and I will add more to it. I don't see any growth on there. Looks like a nutrient deficiency or something, away from the dirt into the tank. Didn't survive. That one's struggling, but this one is doing great. Anyways, not a plant video. I get sidetracked. It's alright. It's all about aquariums, right? So I'm going to move this over. I'm just going to slide it. Okay, hopefully not disturb any of those plants over there. If I see any plants that are disturbed, which I do, I'm going to take my tweezers and move those plants back. Okay, there we go. we go. Taking my tweezers. Okay, moving back where they were. There we go. Now, I was just moving those back in case you couldn't see. Now, you can't see that intake, and the water's flowing nicely. Very good. And I have space right there to put that filter. Okay, and that's what I'm gonna do. The heater, you can tell it's pretty well hidden. I could have hit it a little bit underneath, but that's okay. I think the plant will cover that. All right, so I'm going to pull this, and I need my towel. Where's my towel? Always need your towel. Okay. And your scrubber. Where's my scrubber? There it is. Might as well clean that airline tubing while I'm there. Maybe clean that heater. So I'm going to pull that tube. See where that air stone is connected to that tube. If you don't have, okay, so the downfall, if you will, about this sponge filter is that you need an air pump, right? So this is attached, so that is additional cost, right? Is attached, the airline tubing is attached to that air pump there. These are attached to that air pump. Okay. So I have two air pumps running the under gravel filter on this tank. Okay. Running the air stone on this tank and running the air stone on this tank. So probably could have bought one big one, but at the time, you know, piece by piece, what I could afford at the time, I bought what I could. So I'm going to take this off there and just plug it into this. Into this little connector here. Now this is where the airline is supposed to go through, but I never use that because it's hard as heck to stick that airline in there. I just lay it on the side because it's going to be hidden anyway, and just plug it in there. Let me open this up and show you. Okay, so what falls out of the box is the actual filter and a couple of the suction cups we're going to use. Suction cups last pretty good. They don't last forever, but they last quite a long time. I haven't had to replace any of these suction cups, and if you do, I'll show you some replacement cups. So, but you just take that, you stick it in there till it gets to the edge there, like that. Do the same thing with that. Okay. You've got the foam filters, so when you want to clean this, you just reach your hand in there, like this, grab that filter, squish it out into your bucket. I think I showed you that in one of my videos on how to clean your aquarium. I think I'll link that somewhere, or I'll put a link in the description or something. Anyways, so we've got that set up. We've got that ready to be set up, the suction cup. You can angle this nozzle left or right, however you want it to be blowing. I think I'll blow it over to the middle, so it's going to be blowing it over this way to the left. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to pull that air stone out of there. Alright. Unhook that suction cup right there. Don't need that anymore. I'll use my tweezers for that. Or actually, I'm just going to I'm just going to put my hand in there, make sure hand's clean. Pop that off. There you go. Got your air stone, your dirty air stone. Okay. Like I said, if you need a pump, I'll link a description to that pump that I use. You stick the airline tubing there, and what airline tubing is, if you don't know, is, let's see here, is this stuff here, right? It comes like this in a nice little package. I'll link to that as well. Airline tubing, yeah. And falling out of my drawers is the suction cups that I was telling you about. That's funny how I mention it and it just pops out. It's weird. Not planned. But anyways, so I'm going to take this. I'll take this, and I need two hands. I'm just going to pop that off like that. Probably not need to use this, but you know, I'm going to put it in my stash pile for later. Not going to quite throw it away yet. I'm going to scrub this off and pull this off here, and I'll need two hands for that. So I scrubbed that, I pulled that air stone off, and I scrubbed that tube. I'm going to take this and just throw it away. Okay, I'm going to rinse off this in the under the sink, and I'm going to stick this air tube into that connector right there. Okay. Now you might ask, why is your airline tubing blue? I had to medicate, and the medication I used turned it blue. But anyway, it's usually clear. You can add clear tubing. Your tubing will be clear probably, unless you're medicating too, which I suggest sometimes. But I am just going to connect this. Make it easy. I'm not even going to try to connect it through there. You can try and you get frustrated and then you tell me how it is. But I'm just going to connect that there, right there. And I need two hands for that too. So now that is connected, I am simply going to place this in the aquarium and use those suction cups to suck it on the back. Let's see, slowly, so that the sponges suck up some of that water, making sure that this is in the back somewhere. Okay. Push it down as far as I can get it. Push down on the suction cups. Okay. Alright. That's good for now. Let's see, straighten it out a little bit. And I will put, and that's what it looks like right there, doing its job. Let's see here. I'll move this so you can see. Water's coming out, or not water, but the air is coming out there. So what that does is it pushes the air through that, okay, up that tube, and as it does that, the water gets sucked into the foam on each side and follows the air and moves it out, okay, out using the air flow. Right, so you got some water flow going from the tank through the sponges, which will cause beneficial bacteria to grow, out and up. So basically it's just sucking the water through the sponge, out the filter. And that's how it works. So I could have pushed it down a little bit further, but I'm going to stick a plant back there, probably a big piece of Java fern or something, to hide that, try to hide that. But there you have it. You know, it looks big and bulky, but if I put some plants back there, It will definitely do the job. And what it does for me, why did I do that when my water tested fine? Why? Because I don't like doing water changes a lot. I've been doing water changes on this more frequently than I have these other tanks, and I just would rather pull off these sponges, rinse them off into some dechlorinated water and put them back instead of doing water changes. You know, I let the plants handle that. But of course, water changes are necessary. Please don't think I said you don't have to do water changes. You do. I just do it at a less frequent rate using the plants, using the filtration. I probably didn't have to, but it makes me feel better because that filter by itself, that little one, was not cutting it. So I'll do this one here as well, and keep you guys updated on how it works out. But I'm sure it'll work out fine because that's the same setup that I use for these two other tanks. And of course the plants help out quite a bit, and I'm sure this will just add, you know, add more filtering capability to it. If I wanted later, I could add some shrimps or something. Not with him, but maybe later I could add some shrimps if I decide to rearrange him to another tank or something. But for now, that's how I do it. That's how I show you how to do how to install a sponge filter. So that is the filter that I use, either the small hang on back, or in this case the sponge filter. That's what I would recommend as a filter for small aquariums, a cheap fish tank filter. Now with the air pump, I already had the air pump. For you, air pump probably be like $5 or $10, so maybe for 15 or 20 bucks you can get this set up. Maybe you'd rather prefer to get a hang-on back filter. That's fine too. That's what I'd recommend. And every tank that I have is a hang-on back filter, as well as the sponge filter. But I think that is one of the best aquarium filter for small tank. You know what also that's good for? It's for guppy tanks. It's great for guppy tanks. It's a great guppy tank fish filter. So I show you how to use a sponge filter. Great filter for small aquariums. Let me know what you guys think. What filter, leave me a comment below. What filter do you guys use, if any? You know, some of you guys have betta fish and have a bunch of plants in there, and that's fine too. But let me know what filter you guys prefer in your fish tanks and what size your fish tank is. Like this video. I really appreciate those likes. I really appreciate those shares. If you know someone who needs a new filter for a small aquarium, they even make them for big aquariums, but they're huge and big and bulky, and that's why I don't like them for big aquariums. It's the big round block that you see sometimes in fish stores. But I show you how to install it and everything, and let people know. Share this video with people who need a cheap small filter for their aquarium. If you want inside tips and tricks on how to do aquarium stuff and the best things for the hobby, things that I use in my experience that may help you, sign up for the newsletter. It's tropicalfishguy.com/sign up, and to get the latest stuff. Join me on Instagram at the Tropical Fish Guy. I put, you know, small snippets of the videos and stuff that not good for YouTube, but things that I like to share. So hit me up on Instagram, and thank you so much for watching. I really don't thank you guys enough, so thank you so much for watching. And till next time, happy fish keeping. Peace.